Go to the next one, which is another Brazilian institution allowing the purchase of Bitcoin for 30 million customers. And I think on our last show we had a Nubank, which has 53 million customers. So now you're talking about almost 100 million people in Brazil. And I don't know if there's overlap here or whatnot, but still, it's they got 30 million customers. They're not insignificant, and they're going to allow Bitcoin purchases.
Yeah, I think it's more news for Brazil. Something tells look, it's all speculation, but I would not be surprised if Bitcoin is the first really big country to have some kind of Bitcoin adoption. Kind of seems like we're trending a bit like that right now. Maybe it's just the news that we're getting over the past few weeks, but that's just a guess.
Well, I think any country, and I think Latin America is a good example of this. I think parts of Africa are a good example. There's not much of a middle class in Brazil. There are probably some people who are very well off, and there are many, many people who are more or less below the poverty line by any standard. So, I think when you see these types of things rolling out, what opportunities are being created for people who really have no ability to save any money, to now be able to, put a little bit here or there into Bitcoin to maybe actually capture some of that wealth that they've created that otherwise, is going to be inflated away or not really,
or stolen.
Yeah. All right. You want to keep going, or you got anything else about Brazil?
No, I just think that we're seeing nice adoption there, and we're seeing, I think my comment on this is that because the price of Bitcoin is down from its peak from November 2021, I think there's always a change in sentiment when this happens. And that's fine. There's a change in sentiment on the retail level.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. But for these large companies to do this, and I think we're going to get into it in our next story a bit, that a lot of large companies are looking to do this. And when a large company puts something in place, it can take, if they're really, really fast, it'll take months. Let's say 6 months. 6 months would be like incredibly fast for a large company. But a lot of the stuff they do takes years, a year or two, maybe 3 years to implement anything. So I'm not saying it took PicPay 3 years to implement this in Brazil, but I know they've been working on it. Let's say they were certainly working on it last year. And it takes companies a while to build the infrastructure out, to dot their I's and cross their T's, so to speak, and to launch something. So we're going to see more things. I find it interesting to see the things that are launched during this crypto winter, bear market, whatever you want to call it. This has obviously been on the radar for a while. And there's another thing with this PicPay was that you can use PicPay to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different than a Venmo. So it would allow people in Brazil to pay their bills with Bitcoin. I don't think you're going to see many people doing that. But these adoption stories are significant. And you said, like I said last week, we had Nubank, which was 50 million. There's 30 million. Maybe there is some crossover, but still, you're seeing large swaths of the Brazilian public be able to have access to Bitcoin. And it's not just Brazil. I mean, there are stories we don't include here every week. I know like the 5th largest bank in Switzerland is now offering Bitcoin to their customers. And that's not the first bank in Switzerland we've seen doing it. So we're seeing this stuff happen, and we want to see this. We want to see each week after week, we want to see financial institutions all over the world expand the use of this to their customers. We want to see banks doing it. We want to see merchants doing it. And with that, I think it's a great segue into the merchants.
Yeah, really